right, welcome in. This is episode 1 of the Theta High Fantasy Football League podcast. We got me, I guess your de facto host, Herman Riles, and over here we've got Thomas Terrell. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Where's Sam?
Sam is sick. He said he had a 100-degree fever. We didn't want to make him pull an MJ flu game tonight, so we're giving him a bye. He's on bye like most of the good fantasy players this week.
If Mahomes can do it, I think Sam can.
Mahomes is on bye this week, so bad example.
True.
How are you? How's life?
Good. Going to Waco, Texas this weekend, so we'll see how that is.
Looking for some houses to buy? Isn't that
yeah, it's Fixer Upper. Yeah, we've been watching a lot of Fixer Upper, so now we have to go to Waco and check it out.
Why are you going to Waco? You go to a game?
No, we're literally just going. We've been to Dallas, we've been in San Antonio, we've been to Austin, we've been to New Orleans. That was the next city to go to, I guess.
Bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, we're running out of places. It's time to find a new state.
Well, speaking of travel, you can tell I'm in a hotel room. I'm in Arizona this week for work, but I'm going to see a couple other league members, Ryan Donnan and Greg Dufler, this weekend go watch the Angry Birds probably lose again to the other bird team. The Battle of the Birds this week in Phoenix.
Yeah, well, screw both of them. I just lost back-to-back weeks to them, so not too happy about those two. Yeah, and Greg's was a rough one. I think I lost by a percentage point, so yeah.
Yeah, we have had some closeness. There's some decimal wins this week. It's been a pretty close season.
But yeah, I think everybody's like regressed towards the mean, right? Like everybody has a chance to make the playoffs. Almost.
Well, have you seen it now? The app has the little like X's, Y's, E's, like MLB playoffs or whatever. Nobody's locked in yet, so nobody's got one next to them. But down at the bottom, it has the little glossary, whatever the hell that thing's called.
Yeah.
What's the definitions of those things called?
I don't think I don't know. I forget what it's called.
Index?
Key, like a key. But it's not on ours. Is that just because we suck and nobody's been eliminated or clinched?
It's on the phone app.
Gotcha. Props to Dan. We gotta give Dan. He just keeps winning.
Hey, no spoilers. Let's save it for 2 puds and a stud, or we could just jump right into it.
He's not on my pud and his stud. Oh, maybe he's yours. Oh, all right. Should we get into it then?
Yeah, let's get to it. So we're gonna play Perfect 2 puds and a stud, 2 studs and a pud. We want to be nice. And yeah, here, let's start there. Dan is my first stud. Like, shout out Dan. And we can't say that he was gifted this team because he's making moves. I think his tight end he picked up Keaton, whatever his name is, this week. Spent big bucks on him. I had a waiver claim in for him. That was frustrating. So even though Dan dodged the draft once again, he had the best excuse, and he is making moves to actually try to get his first championship. Just like Ryan last year, it'd be very fitting if we get another virgin champion in Dan this year. So he's my first stud. Shout out Dan.
That's what happens when you start winning. You really start taking it seriously. You start making
winning is fun. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, losing sucks.
Yeah, I know. All right, we had technical difficulties. We are back. I think we left off with my first stud. Second stud is actually a matchup. It's not one person. And you alluded to it. It's Ryan and Greg. They're playing each other. And it's a battle for second place and possibly first. If Dan somehow loses, based on the points scored, Ryan and or Greg, whoever wins, will be the new top team. So that's a big matchup. And it probably solidifies the winner in the Royale. I think all 3 of those teams are probably going to get in. But both guys are projected around 100 points when the rest of us are like closer to 80 this week. So that's really exciting. They're going to be here with me. Like I said, we're going to the game on Sunday. So that'll be fun to kind of watch them duke it out in person, on the phone, all at the same time. Very excited to watch that play out. So that's a stud matchup.
Is that game a 4:00 game? Is it a late game?
It's Mountain Time. Yeah.
Okay. So they literally will be together when probably somebody will know. Matchup's being decided. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I didn't actually look at all the players. I don't know if they've got Sunday and Monday night stuff, but hopefully not, because those games are terrible. So
I
it would
hope
be
they have
bad for whoever
Monday
does.
night and Greg loses on Monday night as payback for when he beat me on Monday night.
Spiteful.
All right, so that's your two studs. Are you going Pud or am I up now?
I'm gonna go Pud, and it's our boy Arthur Smith.
Oh, dude, I was about to put him as my Pud and I didn't.
All right, let's try this again. Technical difficulties all over the place. I was trying to do my Pud downstairs in the hotel lobby. It's Arthur Smith. That guy is ruining my wife's fantasy team. He ruined this fantasy team. Now it's George's fantasy team. Thank you for taking that guy off my hands. I don't have to deal with the Bijan Robinson nightmare anymore. But I thought Arthur was an offensive genius last year when he had no players and he got a lot of rushing yards, a lot of points on the board. This year he has the players and he's doing the same thing, if not worse. So now I kind of think he's an offensive R word. Like he's just running us into the ground. We lost last week to a guy that had been on the team 5 minutes. We all had to watch all the highlights this week of Josh Dobbs. I'm sure everybody's tired of Josh Dobbs' pasture-not content this week. Driving me crazy. I can't even go on my favorite app, X, and watch X videos. It's been a rough week, and I'm just done with Arthur. I'm ready to turn on the tank, and let's go get us another quarterback and a new coach. It's my Pud.
The mustache is gone now.
Yeah, and he already has
around.
regrets. He said he immediately regretted it. Like, you can't be second guessing like that as an NFL coach. You got to commit and you got to go. That's just another knock against the man. Pud.
I think he's panicking. I don't think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's a bad
It's
sign.
becoming very clear.
The mustache needs to stay. Big Cat has taught him that.
Okay. Like I said, I was about to do him as my Pud too, but I'm glad I didn't now.
So I guess let's start at the top. Let's be nice. Who is your
Yes.
first?
So my two studs, so I don't have, I guess we could start with the league member since you started with the league member. And I went off my favorite of the week, which is coincidentally you.
There's no way.
It's also my favorite also just happens to be in the worst matchup of the week by far. I think it's going to be a race between you and Will to like the first one that gets to 50 points wins maybe, but the matchup is terrible. I think Will has Kelsey out on bye, and it seems like he's just going to roll with no tight end. And your team is a dumpster fire, but I looked at it and I thought, even with as bad as your team is, I think that you have a really good chance of winning. So my favorite was de facto you. I did think I was going to go with Kamo for a second until I clicked on the teams, and then I realized he was playing Phil, and Phil didn't have half his starting lineup in. So I don't even know if Phil's going to be a favorite or not.
It makes it tough to do this game, yes.
Yeah, but so you're my favorite, not just pandering, just it's a terrible matchup, but I think you have the edge, especially with Will's best player on bye. Plus, Will has Joe Burrow, which we'll get to a little later. So he's not very right
While
now.
we're on Will, do we want to talk about the Taysom Hill thing?
So I think the Taysom Hill thing is very confusing how we worded the rule. I think we need to do some cleanup as well. I think if Taysom Hill is not allowed, then it needs to be made clear that he's not allowed, because right now the rule more or less is just like you can't have a QB in your tight end spot.
Is that what y'all wrote? So I skipped one draft and all hell breaks loose, and we got rules that nobody knows what they mean.
I think that's what we wrote, but it's literally called the Taysom Hill rule. And I never went back and looked at the wording. I just assumed that Taysom Hill was off limits. So like I've seen him, and when Waller went out, I was gonna pick up Taysom Hill, but then I was like, no, we have a rule against it. But then when I saw he got picked up, I went back and looked at the rule, and the rule is very like not clear at all. It's like you can't have a QB in your tight end spot, but he's not technically a QB right now.
That is also how I understood it. And I kind of figured it was an honor system thing. Everybody was just letting him sit there because of the naming of the rule. But I wasn't there for the discussion. So I don't know exactly what the hell y'all talked about. I personally would have voted against this rule because I think it's silly and nonsense and it makes my job harder. And there shouldn't be honor systems and gray areas and any of that. It's like the dude is eligible. Use him if you want to. Who cares? But you guys voted on this rule among other rules that I don't agree with. And here we are. But my interpretation is, yes, it's an honor system, and he just has to sit there and tease all of us.
Yeah, so once again, I think that even goes more into your favor this week because I think Will is now jaded, so he's just not even going to pick up a tight end since Taysom Hill got eliminated as
Will's
an option.
So. I couldn't tell at all about this season.
Yeah, so my second stud is a player that I think is going to break out this week that has been like drastically underperforming all season.
Okay.
That's Tony Pollard. So he like has been terrible. I didn't realize how bad he's been because he's not on any of my teams. But I looked and he's been really bad lately. But I think like he hasn't been able to score a touchdown in forever. I think that's has to change because Cowboys running backs just score touchdowns. That's kind of their thing. He's playing the Giants this week, which are terrible. I think the Cowboys are going to go up early. They're going to run the ball a lot. And in week 1, when they played the Giants, he scored over 20 points. So I don't even know who has Tony Pollard, but I think Tony Pollard's going to go off this week.
It's a good pick because my stud, Dan, has your stud, Tony Pollard.
There you go. So it looks like Dan's going to win again. So your matchup for first place with Donnan and Greg isn't even going to be a matchup for first place.
Well, yeah, he's playing D-Mac, and D-Mac just only loses. So,
well, funny you say that. That leads me right to my one pud, which I actually have 3. So I'm breaking the rules. But
go off.
One of my puds is Rachaad White. I think like Rachaad White, for whatever reason, I had him last year. I hated every minute of it. This year I refused to draft him at all costs. He is like terrible. He's been terrible. But then last week he popped off. And like I think now there's like hype around Rachaad White and like, oh, and I think he's just gonna tank again. It's like he's gonna go right back down to the bottom. So that's my
Braves. Yeah, it doesn't look fun.
I think he's like, when I was looking at the like projections, he's one of like top 15 probably projections of all like flexes. So they're like really hyping him up. They think like he's turned a corner. I have a feeling he's just gonna crash and burn and go right back to where he was. So yeah, my stud is playing my pud matchup wise. So
yeah, the Battle of the Dans means a lot for your predictions. So we'll see how clairvoyant you really are.
Yeah,
who's your second pud?
Well, I have a season-long pud.
Okay.
These season-long puds are plural because it's T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and the whole Bengals offense as a whole. Because my dumbass went in, I got Jamar Chase, and then I waited on a second receiver, and there were none left. So then I got T. Higgins, and I was like, this sucks. I hate this, but at least it's the Bengals receiver, so it should be good because they have Burrow. Well, Burrow has sucked all year. Higgins has sucked all year. Chase has had one good game all year, and I hate my team, and I hate the Bengals for it. And even when Joe Burrow has like miraculously come back and they're starting to win, he's still not even using Higgins and Chase that much. So I hate the whole Bengals offense. This is going to be like a sour taste in my mouth for the Bengals for a long time after this season.
Have you seen the breaking news? Maybe not because he's still in your starting lineup, but Higgins is out this week. He pulled his hamstring today.
Just great. Jamar Chase injured his back. He's probably going to go out. I've been trying to trade Jamar Chase for 4 weeks now, and nobody will take him. Well, everybody wants him, but nobody wants to give up anything for him.
Yeah, that's you. I would love Jamar Chase. You refuse to trade him.
No, nobody's giving me back anything. They're like, oh, you want my third string running back for Jamar Chase? Yeah.
Enjoyed the Jamar Chase ride. He's still the ninth receiver. It's not that bad.
It's because he had like a 35, 40-point game.
Oh, I
He
see
had
that.
one game.
30. That's
All
like
his other games have
more
been
than the rest of the
terrible.
weeks combined.
It's terrible. I hate the Bengals.
I don't like hearing that because I did pick them in my survivor pool this week. So that makes me a little nervous. But it was between them and my pud, Arthur Smith. So it's a lesser of two evils at this point.
Well, then it's hard to like abandon them and trade them when their like value is so low, because the Bengals last year sucked in the first half and then went off in the second half. So it's like, I don't know. But those are my season-long puds. They've been puds all year. Higgins obviously now is going to stay a pud all year. So screw the Bengals. I'll never draft another Bengal again.
So was that two puds not to be confused with the two-part pud, or was that one pud wrapped in two puds?
That was a one pud that was about 4 parts. 4 parts of one pud. The first pud was a 1-part pud, and my last pud is a 1-part pud as well.
Oh, you have another pud.
That's my upset. That's my upset pud. So my pick to upset this week is Sam, which I'm very confused as to why he's even an upset, because he's actually been good all year, I thought. But then the Dolphins are on bye, so I think that.
Yeah.
But he's playing Marco. And I don't really like Marco's team at all. So
where's Marco?
I'm going
Marco's
with
3-6. Sam's 5-4.
Yeah, I'm going.
So you're picking the better team to upset the worst team. Bold.
I'm going off of projections. Okay.
Okay.
Are we using projections or are we using records here?
Well, at least these guys have their lineup mostly set. Marco never has a kicker until like 20 minutes before kickoff, but at least he's already the favorite without the kicker.
Yeah, exactly. Even more of an upset. So there's all my puds. There's like 20 of them, but
I like it. You got a lot of predictions. You're putting your name on the line this week, putting your reputation on the line. We'll recap this next week and see how well you did.
I know Rashad White's about to go off, and D-Mac is not going to
D-Mac's going to get his first win. Dan's
and Tony Pollard's going to break an ankle within the first, 2 minutes of the game. It's for sure going to happen. But I can guarantee you one thing, the Bengals are still going to suck.
Joey B's back. Joey covered for me last weekend. It was lovely. We're back in the red. Black? What's good? Black. We're back in the black. And we're going to ride Joe Burrow the rest of the season. Doesn't matter who he's thrown to.
The only hope for the Bengals is that I'm playing somebody that has a Bengal on their team, and then that Bengal will probably go off.
Who is that?
I have no clue.
Oh, yeah, that's not true. So that's not going to happen.
Okay. Then the Bengals are going to suck. Guaranteed.
All right, that was that was 2 studs and a bunch of puds. Let's rip a quick, this was your idea, a quick Mount Rushmore of, what is it, GOATs? Mount Rushmore of fantasy GOATs?
Best fantasy football players of all time, but you can't research it. So it's just got to be off the top of your head.
Yeah, I just did it off the dome. And it's kind of their, is it career or season, or just leave it up to
whatever you want? So if they had a crazy season, you could say, their season was great. I'm going off of that, rather than longevity. But it could be just this person was a stud forever. They were always a top 5 pick, and I just remember them as a stud. There's also ones in here that are probably going to be like honorable mentions that we can just list quickly at the end that I can't remember if they were good. Like in my mind, they were good. But then when I thought about it, I was like, maybe they weren't that good, but I think that they're good.
I think I know 3 of yours. I bet I can get 3 of them.
Like the number one is who's going first?
You go first. I know who you're going to take,
Perfect.
And then I'll tell you the 3 that I thought it was going to be at the end. Okay.
The number one is like the only person I ever think of with fantasy, and that's LT.
Right. Yeah.
He was like the GOAT of all GOATs. I think he single-handedly won me a championship multiple times. Like I would always draft him first if I had the first pick. Like everybody, he was throwing touchdowns, he was running touchdowns, he was receiving touchdowns. Like every game, he was just like the best player ever to play fantasy football.
Yeah,
so
I think that would be your 1-1, because you told me you used to run the league in high school and give yourself the first pick just so you could get LT.
Yeah, he's a cheat code.
All right, that's a good one. I'm going to go with AP, Adrian Peterson, because it felt like pretty much the first half of this league's existence, he was the number 1 pick. coming out the gate. It always kind of felt like Dan got him. Felt like Dan and AP were always linked together.
And always got him and always lost.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad we did off the dome and no research. AP wasn't even on my list. I forgot AP even existed. Yeah.
Okay. So that's my first one.
There are two of my honorable mentions that I just put on here because I thought maybe they would make your list. And if they didn't, I'm going to be surprised. At least one of them I think will make your list.
All right. My second is Aaron Rodgers.
Gotta
go with my guy, Aaron. The very first fantasy league I did was the one in the house, that crazy 16-team league we did. Choi won it by taking Aaron Rodgers in the first round back in the day when quarterbacks went in the first round. And I've been a fan of that man ever since. I think I won the league once or twice with Aaron Rodgers on the team. Just when I think fantasy football, I think Aaron Rodgers.
Fair. I'm going to match. I'm going to go QB. I only have one other QB on my list besides Aaron Rodgers. And this is one of those ones that I can't remember if he was like actually good, but I remember he was on one of the teams that won me a championship and he was like the best ever. And it's Cam Newton. And I think Cam Newton was like where we are now, where everybody goes on a run and gets all these quarterbacks that can run and throw.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cam Newton was like the only quarterback of his time that could do that. So I remember like nobody would draft quarterbacks when Cam Newton was elite. And the time that he was elite was short, but like when he was good, he was like really good because he had the total package.
Yeah, his rookie season was ridiculous.
Yeah. And like when I thought about quarterbacks also, I thought Michael Vick had to have been like a stud, but we weren't playing fantasy football back then, right? So like, but was he good or
he had to be, right?
Good, right? But I don't remember it at all.
That's how LT was for me because I never played with LT. All I know about him is what you've told me. And I know he's at the top of the list. If you look at like most fantasy points per season ever, he's like blows everyone out of the water. But I personally didn't have that experience. So I didn't have him on my list just because it felt like lying.
Yeah.
All right. Who's your third?
Okay. Third. So third is it's kind of I don't want to be a homer. Yeah, I'm not going to be a homer. I'm going to go Randy Moss.
Oh, wow. He's not on my list.
Randy Moss, I remember Randy Moss. So Randy Moss obviously was amazing, like his whole career. But I remember that season with the Patriots that he just went off. He was like just the elite of the elite. And so I couple like that amazing season with the longevity that he had in his career because he was amazing even before we were like playing fantasy football. But even when I started playing fantasy football, I remember that Patriots season and him just being amazing. So
do you know how many touchdowns he had that year? I just Googled it.
No, but it had to be insane. He was going for like 20 plus points every game.
It's the league record. It's 23 touchdowns in one season.
Yeah, nuts. Okay, I'm glad I went with him instead of my homer pick.
Well, you get one more pick. You'll come back around. All right. So I'm going to go Todd Gurley. Just because he was short. It was short, but it was awesome. He was a touchdown machine, a lot like Randy Moss. And our Lombard Tree Trophy has a Gurley has no name, I think. Gurley. I can't remember. I have a Gurley named team on that trophy thanks to Todd, so got to shout him out. And then I think Arian Foster is probably going to be my last one.
What? I don't even remember Arian Foster.
It was the first year in this league. I got lucky with Arian Foster, and so I just always think of him in this league in fantasy football.
Man, 3 running backs and a quarterback. No love for the receivers.
That's how I build my teams and get Sacco. All right, who's the last pick?
My last pick. Okay, honorable mention.
Not yet.
Okay. This is the guy that I can't remember if he was good or not, but I'm almost positive he was good. So I'm going to go with him, even though like I know the other person that I would go with is good.
Okay.
And maybe I should go with that guy because he's now.
It's your Rushmore.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey so that we have like
recency bias.
A now player. He's not only like elite now, I think he's like going to have a couple more seasons of being elite. And the guy, like, legitimately, he scores a touchdown every game, at least one touchdown every game. Like, it's nuts. So I'm going to go with him.
He is the modern LT, basically, like throwing, catching, running, all those things you described with LT. You could have been talking about McCaffrey too.
But the guy, maybe you can confirm this. Maybe you remember this or not. The guy that I'm confused on if he was good or not, but I think he was good, is Priest Holmes. He was good, really good, right?
He was, again, that's like, I didn't start playing until 2009. Yeah, so all of that is like, he's in the Randy Moss, the LT, that era. I think he was. I mean, I know
he was
yardage.
Good. I remember a Chief being good, and he's the only Chief I can remember.
Larry Johnson and Priest Holmes were awesome.
Larry Johnson, I forgot about Larry Johnson.
Yeah, Mr. 400 carries.
My other honorable mention, I had to put Eddie Lacy on here because you drafted him every year for like 20 straight years. I thought he would definitely be on your list.
He fell off a cliff so hard that it just couldn't do it.
And then I have Julio Jones, but I think that's based off of that like 250-yard one game he had against Carolina that was just nuts. That I remember. And then
that was your homer pick?
Yeah, that was my homer pick. And then I had also on here Antonio Brown PPR, but it had to be in PPR Antonio Brown because he was like, for like 3 or 4 years there, he was like Deontay Johnson, but actually scored touchdowns. So he was elite in PPR. And those were my honorable mentions. Did you have any?
I thought for sure you would have Doug Martin on your list.
Who? No.
Because he
had that one game
that was the highest score of all time in the league.
And it was on my team.
Yeah. With Cam Newton and Doug Martin. No?
Didn't even think of him.
When I think Doug Martin, I think of that team.
When I think Russell Wilson, I think of that time when I put Russell Wilson in and he came back, and I think I beat you one week. It was like a miraculous comeback because Russell Wilson went off.
I don't think I played you the high score week. I know we lived at Leona because I remember like just watching the numbers go up. I had Peyton Manning because you won that. Or I don't think you won the 16-team league, but I remember you had Peyton Manning in the 16-team league, and that was very helpful compared to some of the other water trash teams we had. And Peyton was just like a guaranteed 20 points every game way back then. Pat Mahomes is the new Peyton Manning. DeMarco Murray had a few years in there. It was between him and Todd Gurley and Arian. They all had like little 2 or 3 year stretches for me that
so gross.
They mean a lot to me and no one else.
So that was literally a personal pick.
Yeah, these all are. It's my memory. My memory. And then Josh Allen is kind of like my McCaffrey pick, where he's recent, he's really good, and just I don't know, honorable mention for him.
So to run it back, I had LT, Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, and Randy Moss, and you had Aaron Rodgers, Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, and Arian Foster.
Yep. Who won?
All right.
Like, comment, and subscribe in the chat.
Comment, subscribe.
Let us know who won.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, it was a rough first one. We'll get the kinks worked out. Let us know how it went. And then we'll start getting guests on here. It's fun to catch up with people once a week. This will be cool. We'll try and do a nice little 20-minute chat each week, do different bits, and do this for the rest of the
season. Wi-Fi works better so it doesn't lag for 45 minutes instead of 20 minutes. But good luck editing.
Yeah, that's going to make editing really fun this week. Hopefully I'm not in a hotel anymore. We'll have better Wi-Fi, better cameras next time. But this was fun, man. Good to see you.
You too. Enjoy the game this weekend.